Hi everyone, my name is Philippe Bourgault and I've been an extreme programmer for 15 years and I'm now an extreme programming coach at Murex, where I help teams to adapt extreme programming to their own settings to be sustainably productive and get a sustainable pace. So first, a word about Murex. Murex is an international company, more than 2,000 people, 500 developers. We're developing software for the capital markets with passion, and you can follow us on the social media. So just to start, short blind test. Who knows this band? Yeah, most of us do. The Rolling Stones. So almost everybody knows the Rolling Stones. In a few numbers, 56 years, 29 studio albums, 150 million albums sold, and more than 2,000 live concerts. So with such figures, we would think that at any moment, the Rolling Stones are able to jump on stage and deliver a great show. You might be surprised that before they begin to tour, they spend 2 full months locked in the studio to practice together. You're going to ask me, what has all this to do with software? So I'm coming to that. In this book, Uncle Bob tells us that as professional software engineers, we should practice our skills. So I'm going to ask you a question here. Who works in a team? And who practices as a team? Yeah, so you see where I'm going. It's fine to practice our own skills, but it's important to practice team skills as well. Because when you start to practice team skills, you'll be able to deliver more value, you'll avoid conflicts with your colleagues, you'll be happier at work and in your life in general. When I got interested in teamwork, I knew it was important, but I just didn't know how much. It turns out others have dug into the issue as well. Google, for example, a company well known for its selectivity about engineers, found out that some teams were more performant than others. So they dug into data because it's a data-driven company, and they found surprising things. First surprising thing is that there was no correlation between the skills of the teammates and the performance of the team. First surprising thing. The second surprising thing was that the real difference was in the way the people behaved to one another within the team. In these high-performing teams, people showed sensitivity to each other. People felt they could speak whatever they wanted, and they would be listened by their teammates. So sorry for the 10x productive developer. I think the myth dies today. But what exists is the 10 times less productive team. Let's walk through this. Suppose you've got a team where no one speaks together. So people don't speak together. Obviously, they'll do bad review. Okay. Bad reviews means duplicated code. Okay. More bugs. Okay. More bugs means less features. And less features means more stress because the business is unhappy. But that's not all. If people don't speak to each other, they'll have a hard time figuring out coding conventions. So keep coding conventions in mind, because we'll come back to this just after. So imagine you're in this setting. You're in a team where people don't speak, they don't have coding convention, they're under stress, they've got a lot of bugs. And now someone from the business comes and asks you to fix a bug. You're going to start working on it, but unfortunately, you'll discover that the fix is not in your code, but in your neighbor's code. And here's the trouble are really starting, because he's also working on a bug, an urgent bug as well. And you've got no coding convention, so it's going to be difficult to change his code. And you're all under stress. What is really likely to happen is that you'll fall into conflicts. And the worst of that is that once you've got conflicts, you'll have more stress and less speak. And so you see that bad teamwork makes teamwork even worse. So I said we were going to talk about coding convention, because coding convention is actually how I discovered this way of working in practicing teamwork. A few years ago, I was working in a large bank in Paris, and we wanted to adopt collective code ownership. Unfortunately, people in the team were using different coding styles, also design styles, so I set up naively a 1-hour meeting to discuss this. And in the end, the only thing we managed to agree on was the standard way of writing C# as explained on the Microsoft website. It was rather a failure. A few years later, in Murex, same problem, we need coding conventions. This time, instead of doing this meeting that didn't turn good, I created a wiki page. And on this wiki page, we could post conventions, ask for feedback, discuss about them, vote, and then eventually adopt things. So it worked, but it was really slow. Until one day when a teammate comes and asks me, could we use this Coding Dojo we have to try to fix a real Sonar issue in the production code that I don't really know how to fix? So, yeah, let's try this. So we went into the Coding Dojo, and here the magic happened, because we didn't get out with a single Sonar fix. We went out with 4 Sonar fixes, and the bonus was that we also got 3 conventions, team conventions. And that's why I thought, so maybe there's something more about the Coding Dojo that could help us with teamwork. Coding Dojo. Who's been at the Coding Dojo? Yeah, great. So actually it was invented in Paris here, more than 10 years ago, to teach and spread TDD. The idea is that programmers meet to work on a small programming puzzle, and they try to do this collaboratively using TDD and baby steps. Usually it lasts for around 2 hours. If you want, it's like a geek puzzle for programmers where they can improve their skills. Nowadays, coding dojos have made their way to the enterprise. Unfortunately, this is usually how they're practiced. In solo or in pairs for maximized learning. But there's also a team flavor of the coding dojo. It's called the Randori. So to explain to you what the Randori is, let's make a detour around tabletop games. So you all know Monopoly. Monopoly games usually end with one who gets it all, while all the others have nothing left. But for a few years now, there's a new kind of game that attracts more and more players. They're called cooperative games. This one, for example, is really great. And in these games, all the players play together against the game. So at the end, they either all lose or they all win together. And the great thing is that the more they play, the better they get as a team, and you can actually increase the difficulty of the game to cope with that. And the Randori Coding Dojo, it's the same thing. It's like a cooperative mode for the dojo. So the first similarity is that it's going to be fun. Then you've got a challenge, and the goal is to finish this puzzle. You've got a team. You also need a computer to switch keyboard every 5 minutes. And you'll try to go through this problem using TDD and baby steps. That's it. And during the Randori, you'll have a lot of interesting discussions. For example, you'll ask how you should write the code. And this will trigger interesting discussions. And you might get out with conventions. You'll also need to give and receive feedback. Not to get angry when you receive bad feedback, and learn how to give constructive feedback. And what's more difficult is that in only 5 minutes, the time you've got the keyboard, you won't be able to write imperfect code. So you'll need to get out of your comfort zone and learn to trust your colleagues. Plus, in 5 minutes, if you want the next one to get the keyboard to continue what you've been doing, you'll need to talk a lot and explain what you're up to. And if you do this enough, maybe someday you'll do as the team who invented mob programming, and you'll switch to do this all the time. So as you can see, there are many advantages to Randories. So let's see now how to start a dojo. So to start a dojo, you need a room. No, sorry, not this kind of room. A simple office room. That's it. And you need a time slot, preferably that doesn't interrupt programmers. You'll need a computer, you'll need a large screen, a timer, and a problem, which you can find lots of these on the internet. So you see, it's really nothing to do. In 5 minutes, you can set up a Randori for the coming time in your team. But there's no reason not to do it. But yeah, there is one. Your boss might not agree, but I've got exactly the answer to tell you. First thing is that get any Scrum book, and you'll see that you should leave some time, buffer time, at the end of every iteration, so that you can deal with unexpected work and be able to deliver what you said you would deliver at the beginning of the sprint. So if you put the Coding Dojo at the end of the sprint, you should be able to do it almost every sprint. But there's an even better reason to do it. It's that it's free. Let's look at this. Let's go back to the problem we had in this team where teamwork didn't work well. Imagine now teamwork is working a lot better. You've got better collaboration. If you've got better collaboration, you'll have better code review. Better code reviews means less bugs. Less bugs means less time fixing bugs. Less time fixing bugs means more feature, which means happier business. Happier business, less stress. Less stress, more features, better collaboration, and less time fixing bugs. Obviously, you'll have a lot less conflicts. And you see here that you've just installed a continuous improvement loop. And the great thing about this loop is that it's going to make you happier. Just one more reason why you should start Coding Dojo Randori right now. It goes back to what you were told at kindergarten. You were told, be to others as you would like others to be with you. So maybe, I'm sure you would like your teammates to give you constructive feedback. You would like them not to get angry when you give them feedback. You'd like to be able to have constructive discussions with them to agree on new design and improve everything. And the best way to do this is to start to change yourself on these aspects. To learn how to take feedback without getting angry, and to learn how to give great feedback to people. And a sure way to do this is to start a Randori and practice this. And if you do it enough, maybe you'll reach the zen of egoless programming. If you're wondering what that is, basically it means that if someone comes and tells you your code is shit, you're going to say, thank you, can you help me to improve it? If you want to learn more about this, read this classic from Jerry Weinberg, The Psychology of Computer Programming. And jumping to another classic. In this one, Alistair Cockburn said, software is a cooperation game. And to conclude, I would say that whatever the game you're playing, whether it's tabletop, sports, a silly TV game, or music, teamwork is the key, and it should be practiced. And the same goes with software. We must practice teamwork. So when you get back to work, take 5 minutes to set up a Coding Dojo Randori, so that like the Rolling Stones, you'll be able to deliver more value, avoid conflict with your colleagues, be happier at work, and in your life in general. So before I leave, a few links, 3 links where you can find katas, problem katas to work during your Coding Dojo. A link to the Coding Dojo book, which contains katas plus a ton of best practices to make your Coding Dojo a success. And you can also follow me on my blog, where I post regularly articles about Coding Dojos and TDD in general. Thanks a lot.